In this video, I'm going to discuss how to make a startup flash drive for installing Windows or Linux, for instance. And we're going to do this by using unit booting. Now, it is quite similar to other standard startup disk creators you might have on your OS. However, unit booting also offers an advantage over others, and I'll get to that later on. For now, when you want to make a flash drive for installing Windows, you might need it because you have no CD or CD drive, or you need an offline installer, backup disk, for instance, in case something goes wrong with Windows. In case of Linux, for instance, you also might want to have it because you need to install it from a USB instead of a CD or whatever. But also, in case of Linux, you can actually experience Linux before you install it. You can use the live USB to get a sense of how it is to use Linux, and you can do all the things you do on a daily basis with a normal computer, the productivity things, media things, entertainment, whatever. It's possible so long as you have pre-designated an amount of storage. I'll get to that later on as well. Unit booting is free for Windows, Linux, and macOS, so you can download it from this link and then you can get to it. Now, before we get to it, actually, let's make sure that you have enough space on the flash drive and that there are no important files on it. It might get wiped for making the startup disk. And in case of Windows, if you want to make a Windows startup disk, make sure that your flash drive is formatted NTFS. And in case of Linux, make sure that it is formatted FAT32. You know how to format disk, just right click on it and then choose format. Alright, so here we're looking at unit booting for Windows. Now when you start it, by default it will be set to distribution. You can skip that, go directly to disk image and select the Windows ISO you want to flash onto your USB drive, or perhaps your Linux ISO you want to experience for the live USB. So when you go to browse to your ISO, make sure you have it somewhere on your computer and then select that one, open it, and then you can also specify the drive, which drive you want it to flash on. Now, bear in mind, if you flash your drive, at least in Windows, it will erase everything that you had on it. So your USB, make sure it can be emptied. After having done that, this is where unit booting has advantage over other startup disk creators. This here is what they used to call persistence. Basically, by this, you define the amount of storage your USB drive has for its own use. So if you make a Linux live USB, you can use that to experience the Linux distribution you are about to install or try it out for a bit, and you can actually perform any task that you desire from a computer. Whatever will have you, you can do it, and it will store it as long as you have sufficient amount of storage. So that option you can actually specify here. So up to 9,999 you can do that. Now, the more storage you specify here, the longer it will take to flash your drive. So after you've set everything, you just hit OK and it will start flashing. So at the end of the run, it will tell you that it is done and it will present the exit button. And then you're set to go. What you need to do next is restart your computer and boot into your flash drive as soon as you restart it. So you have this hotkey on your computer that allows you to select from the boot menu which drive you want to boot into. And then you select your USB drive and then you're good to go.